Good evening from the Moose Fire here in Salmon, Idaho. My name is Mary Cernacek, and I am a information officer with Great Basin Incident Management Team 1. We wanted to give you a brief update about what we've been working on this weekend and a little bit about how the fire is doing. Right now, we're reporting the fire at 130,086 acres, and we have 50% containment. In an effort to keep you up to date, we are going to have another community meeting, and that'll be on Monday, September 19th, and it'll be at the Idaho Fish and Game Office here in Salmon on Highway 93, and it will also be available on Facebook and YouTube. So we hope you can join us at 6 o'clock on Monday the 19th. Go ahead right now and put your questions in the chat if you're tuning into us here on Facebook. But if you're watching us on YouTube, you can always call us at the Fire Information Office at 208-742-6690. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our Operations Section Chief Trainee, Matt Call.
You can keep that. Sorry. Hi, I'm Matt Call, Planning Operations Trainee, Great Basin Team 1. We're going to start on the operational map here, and then we're going to go show you some Google IR images. We'll start here with the owl fire today. We got a good recon flight of the owl fire. Really didn't have any heat or any visible smoke. Tomorrow we're going to fly it with a drone, with the UAS, and that's going to allow us to have a little bit better accuracy at how much heat's in there. And then we're going to send a crew up to walk around it and really take care of that heat as much as possible. So we're feeling really comfortable about the owl fire. Hasn't grown at all. Working around here, we've got some equipment in place in case we have some rollout on the river corridor, on the river road, to remove that and keep that access open. All this is good. We've been talking about that for quite a while, and that's pretty much the same. Where we've got some action here, this moves into the watershed and what we call Division Mike. We'll talk about that on the satellite map. We've still got a lot of structure elements in place through the residence here. What that is a bunch of plumbing and pumps, hoses and tanks to basically protect those structures should the fire move down that way. Same type of systems in place here around Leesburg and then up here in Moose Creek. All this is nice and cold, and we're going to allow people back in there tomorrow. Got a little bit of active edge here, but it's not moving too much. So now we're going to move to the satellite and kind of show you our infrared imagery and kind of show you what kind of terrain we're dealing with. So this is the same perimeter here that we've got, the same shape, but it doesn't have all the icons there. So we're going to tilt that. Oh, we don't want that. Sorry about that. So we're going to zoom into this area here. You can see where salmon is, and we're going to zoom down into here and sort of look at some of this terrain and what it looks like. To give you an idea, this here is the watershed, and then this line is the power line easement right there, that cut in the fuel. So we do have fire that's come into the watershed there. This color here indicates more active heat. So we've got a spot down there, and it hasn't moved too much in the last few days, and we do have some active heat down here that's slowly burning its way downhill a little bit, and it hasn't moved too much in the last couple of days. So we'll scoot this over. So now we're looking about to the west. Tilt this so it's a little bit better to look at, and we'll zoom in so you can kind of see the way this country is. There's some real heavy fuels here in Jesse Creek, and putting crews in there just isn't practical, because as we come over from this way, if we were to build some line, there's really nowhere to tie in here if this fire picks up. So the objective here is to secure that spot and then just sort of secure these spots as best we can and try to make sure they don't grow too much. But building a long continuous line isn't practical based on the terrain and the fuels. So what we're going to do is find some of these hot spots like this, and we'll tie them into roads. We'll put a little bit of check line around there, and then maybe build some line around these and tie them into roads where we can, which prevents much progression of moving downhill towards these timber stringers. And we're just going to continue to do that in these spots where it makes sense and where it's practical, where the terrain allows us. So we've got crews doing that all along here on all these spots, and they're being assisted with the drone. So we'll fly this with the drone and see where we have heat, where we have growth, where our most hazardous spots are as far as heat growth, and then we'll tie those into the lighter fuels where we're not getting any fire progression. And we've got some crews up here in the diamond area doing some rehab on some lines that were already constructed. So most of our crew work on the hill is up through this area, both going direct and indirect, meaning right up against the edge of the black and away from it. And then fixing some, rehabbing some lines in areas where we've already been working. We'll zoom out and show you what some of the equipment's doing real fast. So along the 020 road right here, we've still got some logs to move, and like we were telling you earlier, we were planning on the fire being on this side of this line, and now we have the potential of it being on this side. So we have some feller bunchers working this road to remove some hazardous trees along this. Should the fire get up and move this way, that gives us more opportunity to stop it from going into this area right here. So that's kind of a big equipment moving operation. Down south here along the Williams Creek, that operation's just about done chipping, so that the impact on the local traffic down there should be just about done today. So that'll about wrap it up for our operational briefing today. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you later.
Hi, John Kern, Fire Behavior Analyst with the team. Talking about what we saw today. We had a nice sunny morning to our start of our day, with the relative humidities getting down into the lower 20%, and that really tends to dry out our fuels. But since then, this afternoon, we've seen some showers move in, putting a couple of hundredths of rain out on some of the spread out weather stations that we've got located across our fire area, and that'll help keep things down. Unfortunately, along with those showers did come some gusts. We did record 2 gusts of wind, one at 25 miles an hour and another at 30 miles an hour. So we do have some gusty winds out there. So that has led to fire behavior today has been kind of limited, like we heard from Matt, mostly creeping and smoldering of our fires, staying low to the ground and moving very slowly, because we have had rain over the past 5 days on most of our fire, about a ½ an inch down to about a ¼ inch spread out over the fire over those days. And that does a good job of really moistening our fuels for us and keeping their fire behavior down. So that's what we've seen today. Tonight we're looking at relative humidities coming back up, and that should be pretty good for us, giving us a nice quiet morning tomorrow when the fuels are still going to be a bit wet. But Sunday we are expecting temperatures to be a little bit higher than they were today, relative humidities lower, and gusts up to 20 miles an hour. So we'll be sure that we're keeping an eye on our fire out there, but with those moist fuels we still are expecting Sunday, tomorrow, to be another day with just smoldering and creeping for the most part. Our crews are going to be out there looking for what we call rollout, which is when large logs kind of break free, smolder through, break free of whatever's holding them up on these steep hills, where they might roll down the hill and start a new fire. So we'll be looking out for that, using the drones and all of the personnel that we've got out there. Looking into the early part of next week, we do see temperatures staying up and staying dry Monday and Tuesday, but then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we see some more moisture returning to our area, and it should keep our fire behavior kind of under control for that period. Winds will be out of the south tomorrow, helping to move that smoke out of our area too and moving it to the north. So to wrap things up, we're going to have our incident commander, Evans Quo.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening, and thank you for joining us this evening. So we've been dealing with quite a bit of uncertainty on this fire ever since we got here about a week ago. You know, when initially the uncertainty had to do with whether or not the inversions were going to be strong enough to keep the fire tamped down, or whether the inversion's going to lift and then the fire would resume its very active fire behavior as we've seen before. And certainly the conditions that occurred on September 7th when this fire made that 15,000 acre run, I mean, a lot of those conditions were still present, but because of the inversion, things kind of kept everything tamped down. So in hindsight, we now know the answer to that level of uncertainty. The uncertainty that we're currently dealing with, though, right now is we know we have moisture, and we have some pretty good science and meteorologists to help us identify what the fire potential is. And right now, you know, it's pretty low. But the big question is, and the unknown question is, how long will summer persist? Will it return and take us into October? So that's something that we're trying to use the science to inform, looking at historical records. But you know, really what it comes down to is some years fire season kind of falls on its face about this time of year, towards the tail end of September, and other years we have continued hot and dry conditions well into October. So a lot of our plans are based on the assumption that we're probably going to see active fire burning conditions well into October, because the last thing I think we want to do is worry about another type of event such as this one that could potentially push fire down lower. So to that end, as Matt described, we're trying to take some action up in this country where where it's possible and where it's feasible. But in the event that we have to, we still have the contingency plan to fall back on at the toe of the slope, around the water treatment plant, around the outskirts of town, around Bar Hill, and then all the way down into Williams Creek Summit if we need to. Ideally speaking, we don't have to implement that plan, but in the event we have to, we're prepared. We have the resources present on site. Even under this wet conditions, we still have quite a bit of work to do. So if the fire remains moderate, mild, and the crews are having good success, we still have a lot of suppression repair that we need to effect. But what we mean by suppression repair is go back out and repair the damage on the ground that were created by all the hand line that we constructed, all the dozer line that we put in, a lot of the fuels mitigation, the fuels treatment areas, try to clean up the slash. So quite a bit of work still to remain. So even if it does continue to be cool and moist, with the shots of precipitation, we still have plenty of work to keep the firefighters busy. And the timing of all that was working out nicely because we could be accomplishing that work while the conditions are calm. But then if they dry out again, like it could potentially happen, then we have sufficient resources on hand to take some of the contingency actions farther out. So a lot of this is working well in our favor. We're going to continue efforting and looking at the fire, doing our daily assessments of what we think it's going to do, look at the weather, try to predict what the future holds for us, and then base our plans accordingly. We have probably another 5-6 days remaining before our tour on this fire time is up. But towards the end of it, we're going to be taking a good hard look at what level of organization is required to come in behind us and make sure that all those folks are prepared to understand the strategy that we've been working on and implementing, and then make sure we have sufficient resources to carry us in for however long we need to. So with that, I think that wraps up our update for today, and I'll give it back to Mary. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Evans. So that's kind of our take on what we've been up to since we last checked in with you on Wednesday night. And again, reminding you that we will be available to answer any questions live and in person, as well as on Facebook, come Monday on our community meeting. And that'll be 6 p.m. at the Game and Fish office here on Highway 93. So thanks for your attention. Please remember, throw your questions in the chat, or you can call us at the Fire Information Office. And that number is area code 208-742-6690. Thank you.